Howdy, this is Daniel Dauphin with Dauphin Horsemanship, and today we're going to talk about high lines. We're going to show you how to leave no trace when you tie your rope around the tree. We're going to show you how to tie a trucker's hitch to get your rope nice and tight, and a Prusik hitch to keep your horses where you want them to do. Please, if you like our video, give us a like down in the below the video. I think it's down on that side. Hit that subscribe button if you hadn't already, and the bell next to the subscribe button will give you notifications whenever we release a new video. The first thing that I want everybody to be conscious of when you're camping in the woods with horses is a policy called leave no trace. That means that we want to leave the woods as pristine as we found them. So a couple of rules dealing with horses. One, when you have a high line set up, pick up your manure. Some places will allow you to put that in trash cans. We got some big bugs out today. A cicada serenade. Other places they may ask you to spread it in the woods, but each campground you're going to be at is going to have a policy. So don't leave your manure piled up. If you are at a campground, then the odds are good there's designated high line areas. So horses are going to paw, they're going to damage the area where we've got them. If they have a designated area, that's a sacrificial area where they're expecting damage, but they want to keep that damage limited to that spot. So don't go find new sets of trees in the woods and do more damage around the campground. Stay where you're supposed to stay. One other thing that I want to be pretty conscious of, if I'm highlining to a tree, I want to be very aware of the bark on that tree, and I do not want to permanently damage it. One of the great little hacks is to use an old girth. It's very gentle on the bark of the tree. You've got these two great loops to tie your high line into, and it works just wonderfully. You could even still, like this is a pecan tree, it's not a real sappy type of a wood. I could even pull this girth down tomorrow, put it on a saddle, and go ride a horse. One of the other things that you can do, this is 2-inch nylon webbing. It's tremendously strong, and it will spread the surface area around the bark of that tree so that it doesn't damage it. This is actually an old seat belt. I went to a junkyard and cut this out of a car. Either way, it works well. If you do get one of these, you can hand tie loops in the end. I would really encourage you, if you're going to use these straps for very long, to just get you a metal ring, put it in here, and sew this for about a couple of inches or so, and that way you've essentially got another girth. But leave no trace, very important policy to keep in mind whenever you're camping or camping with horses in the woods. This is our actual trucker's hitch. I'm going to untie it for you, and the reason I'm going to do it, I've already put a bind on this rope. I just want to show you how easy it is to untie once you've put a bind on it. So you can see my functional loop. All I have to do is back out of there, boom. And that was not a magic trick. I don't have the knot hidden in this hand or this hand. Okay, so for our trucker's hitch, all you're going to do, you're going to form a bite. Remember, that's a loop or a coil or a twist in your rope. And then from the side going to the tree, you're going to pull a loop through. Okay, so that's just an overhand knot, but instead of passing the tail through, I'm going to pull a loop through. Alright? So that's that knot from all directions. It is a quick release overhand knot is how you could think of it. This allows me to have a loop that I can use like a pulley to get my rope super tight. Okay, so that rope went from slack to tight, and now all I need to do is a couple of half hitches. My high line is up and ready to roll. Now, I'll tell you, we shot the trucker's hitch a little ways away from the tree just so that it was in the light and you could see the knot properly. In reality, I might untie this and do it a few times because I really want this whole jumble of knots to wind up pretty much right here on the end of my rope. I wouldn't want to be putting my horse's drop right here and have the temptation of playing with this rope right in his face. I want it away from him at the tree. But functionally, that is how you tie a trucker's hitch. And again, once you've tied it a couple of days, you're going to need to loosen it up and tighten it up again. You can see it's real easy to untie your half hitches and tie it right back up. Trucker's hitch. It is the key to a good high line. The next thing, once we have our high line strung and reasonably tight, is to set our drops for the horses. Now this particular area between these two trees, I won't show all of it to you, but I could easily fit 2 and maybe push it to putting 3 horses between these trees. I like to use something called a Prusik knot. Now they have rings that you can put on here, and it's very simple and easy to do. I'm a fan of using the rope, and I'll tell you why. This is the same rope that I make my halters out of, and it has about a 100-pound strength before it breaks. The rope above me on the high line is about a 400-pound strength, and then I make my drops out of this same sort of rope. So if I have a horse, let's say I'm camping in the Rockies and a grizzly comes up and scares one of my greener horses and he panics, I would rather for this part to break and that one horse to get loose than for him to break this and take all of those other horses and, oh my goodness, the wreck that we're about to have. So I have a planned weak link in the chain where if something's going to break, I want it to break here. So all we're going to do is form a loop. We're just gonna take our piece, and this is too long, I'm just showing you, and do a simple overhand knot in the end, and boom, we have a loop. Okay, this is more the size that I actually would want. I want the height of my rope. I do want to feed my horses on this line, so the length that I'm going to give them is basically from here to the ground, where the horse haltered can get his nose to the ground to drink and eat. I need to be at least that far from the tree. So let's say theoretically that was 8 feet from this rope to the ground. My first drop needs to be at least 8 feet from the tree, and even better if it's 10 or 12. You can get a horse hurt. I actually had one that this happened to me on a trip. She was a very experienced horse, so I put her closer to the tree because I just didn't have many options where I was, and she wound up that night going around the tree. She couldn't go completely around it, but she went partially around it and tried to lay down and got herself in a bind, and you know, it hurt the horse. So you want to be plenty far enough where they can't interfere with the tree. So I'm going to come out here just past this limb. We got our line up. This is called a Prusik knot or hitch, and it is very, very simple. You're simply going to go around the rope. You're going to pass the tail through. And you're going to go around again and pass the tail through. Okay? And so, when a horse pulls on this sideways, you'll notice that they cannot move themselves up and down the line. But if I loosen it up a little bit, I can very easily slide the horse down the line. This is actually a climbing knot. If you need to climb up a rope, you can do a couple of these. You have like a little handle. You slide it up and then you can pull on it. Because when you pull on it, like I say, it won't slide. But loosen it up a little. Very easy to move this horse a little farther away. So I'll do that for you one more time. Basically, you're just going to wrap around it twice and then pass the tail through. Okay? And again, I have my drops made out of this stronger rope. All I do with that, I use a bowline like we showed you in the other video, and I have a bull snap on one end. And I would clip that bull snap in right here. And the reason I use a snap is because that automatically has a swivel on it. Your horses are frequently going to walk circles when you have them tied, and that rope will coil up. You'll wind up coming out here in the morning with a horse like so. But with a swivel on this end and the bull snap on his halter having a swivel, he won't get all tangled up. Basically, you're going to put the tail of your loop up there, and you're just going to wrap around it twice. Okay, and the second time you go around, just
That was kind of funny.
And then your horse runs off into the
I think we got B-roll. When you keep saying you have a engineered weak link, I always want to say, "You are the weak link." What was our tagline?
Oh, the weakest link.
Yeah, there you go.